Hi friends, I'm Liz.
I'm Robby, welcome back to our channel Bookworm Couple. Today we are going to be talking about the third episode of the Percy Jackson and the Olympians series on Disney+. And...
Not a book, but book adjacent.
Not a book, but book adjacent.
Also, did we ever say why we have a different background?
We didn't. I guess we can talk about that this time. Yeah, we're at my parents' house for the holidays. So
you
were in my parents' basement. Enjoy the boat.
It's a very epic boat. We are sitting on a blanket that is the map of Middle-earth, so it felt perfectly
Are
themed.
we really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. Huh. I didn't even notice that. All right.
Let's talk about Percy Jackson.
Percy
Jackson.
Jackson.
The name of the third episode?
The title of it is We Visit the Garden Gnome Emporium, which is, again, a chapter name from Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, which is the first book in the series. I liked it again. I thought it was really good.
I liked it again. I'm hard-pressed to see if they don't impress me from here on out.
It's great. And I feel like I noticed more changes in this episode. More about, like, perspective shifts, I guess. And like how we're going into a scene, or like than anything else, than like changes about what actually happens, because everything seems to be following the set path of the book so far, for as much as I can tell. But there are, different, I don't know, goals, I guess, going into scenes, or different thoughts going into each of them.
We're definitely like interpreting it a little bit differently than the book in a way. I know what you're saying. The like transitions, like where we're coming from. Interpreting is a good word. Yeah. Kind of who's. Also, to see actors portray characters, you can do so much in your mind, but to see them, you can see the choices that they're making and why they're making them. Whereas if you read it on the page, it might seem very obvious, but we're getting a lot of, I think, full spectrum of the characters, more so than we would obviously reading the book. So I think you're right. We're getting a little bit of a different perspective to a lot of choices, a lot of the journey that we're going forward with here. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, were you going to say something?
No, I don't know. And I was just going to talk specifically about Percy.
Yeah, go to town.
I think it's, I noticed this time around, and not that I don't think he is confident in the books, but it was interesting this particular episode. I was like, oh, Percy is not messing around. No. Percy is very sure of himself and sure of what he needs to do, and no questions asked. I feel like we've done a really good job of seeing that from him because of Sally. You can very much tell that his character made this, like, what's happening? Like, I'm kind of a scared, nervous kid. I don't know what's happening, to this, like, I am very sure that I need to do this. I am now very confident because this is what I need to do because I need to save my mom. And I just thought it was really interesting because I didn't really get that, like, confidence level of him in the book, but I definitely saw the flip of the actor in this, and I thought that was cool.
Yeah. No, I think that it was great that we got so much time with the three, Grover, Annabeth, and Percy this time, and I think all of them got their moments as well. I think Grover was a standout for me this episode. The Consensus song, I love.
Oh my god, the Consensus song.
I love the Consensus
song. So cute. They have done, and I think I said this in our first video, that they have done a beautiful job of making Grover very, very silly, but with so much heart and brilliance. And I don't think there was as much of that in the text. That I read Grover very much as, like, very, very silly with a full heart, but, like, this actor and this way of writing him, he has much more depth. Yeah. And I love that. I love that.
Yeah, I liked the whole thing. I also liked the way that, I think the biggest interpretation change, I guess, essentially is the main conflict of this episode. So spoilers for things that happen in the episode or have happened in the book going forward, up to this point at least. The entire way that they go into Medusa's is different. In the book, they don't know that it's Medusa's right away. They figure it out right away. And, I actually read a very interesting Variety article about, like, why they changed some of those things. But part of what that was, much more forced Annabeth to come to face with maybe my mom is not always the good guy type thing, which I thought was very interesting, and I really liked how they pushed that to the forefront to give Annabeth more to do.
Absolutely.
And also make Medusa, a little bit closer to the actual myth, without having to go too deep into exactly what actually happened, since it is a show that is also for kids. But in the myth, and it actually mentions it in the book as well, is that the reason that Medusa was turned into a Gorgon by Athena is because her and Poseidon were getting it on in one of Athena's temples.
She was mad.
In the myth, however, apparently, and this is something I didn't know until I read that article that I mentioned a little bit ago, those relationships may have not been consensual, which was part of, why they opted for that perspective change in the show as opposed to in the book, to give Medusa, I guess it's just a different interpretation when it's close. Yeah, exactly. And also it challenges the characters more, so it's a change that I actually kind of liked.
I loved it.
I was interested when they went in immediately knowing who she was. I was like, okay, so what's happening?
Well, you know what I thought? I was like, yeah. Because when I read it, I was like, oh, no, it's not.
Yeah.
Because and I haven't, when we meet all of these mythological characters, I haven't gotten each one right away, because if you've read the books, you know that it's kind of like a slow roll. If you meet like a character that you encounter, you don't always know right away who they are, but they're probably obviously someone from this world. And Medusa was one that you kind of knew right away, because they roll up to this place in the middle of the woods where there's a bunch of frozen statues of weird thing, like statues.
I think in the book it's technically like on the highway, so it's not that
weird. No, it's
weird.
still in the woods.
Is it still?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I think it's in the woods off the highway.
Sure.
So it's not far, but it's still in the woods. It just seemed very obvious, and I was like, these kids are smart. Like, and they know, especially Annabeth, who has been like out in the world adventuring. So I liked it. I also loved, from the second I could tell what they were doing with Medusa, I was fully in. I am a big fan of blurring the lines of good and evil, because I think that's more a realistic way to look at things. I think we kind of become obsessed with good and bad, good and evil in our society in general, and I love to see things turn on the head of like, it is not black and white. This is not exactly what you've been told, what you've been read. Look at it from a different perspective. And I thought that was really well done.
Yeah, I liked the actress who played her a lot. I liked the way she looked. I think
the hat was cool.
The hat was very cool. I thought that when she took off the hat and we saw her snake hair and all that stuff, it was very, very good. I really liked her. I liked the way that they decided to interpret it in this, and I think it makes sense for the show while still keeping, true to the plot line of the books, just a little bit of a different take on it.
Yeah.
And I think it works. I also think because, it was kind of had to, because the whole crux of the episode really is Annabeth gets offered a deal by Mrs. Dodds, Megan Mullally. Being great, the Furies still look awesome.
So good.
And Percy is offered a deal by Medusa, and then Grover yells at them both, completing the entire arc of this tiny one episode. And, so it works. I think it all works. I think it serves each character, lets us get moments alone with each character, which is very important, because, of course, it's great to see them as a unit, but, it's good to see them alone as well.
Yeah.
And, getting Annabeth on her own, which I don't think we'd seen any of her by herself at that point. I will say the one thing that I think I don't enjoy too much about this episode, and it may have been in the last episode as well. They keep saying that Annabeth is like the most powerful and best demigod ever.
I didn't notice that in the last episode. I didn't notice that in this episode.
Yeah, they've said it multiple times now, and I'm just like, we get it, she's cool. But it feels stilted and weird to me. It feels like it's being put in there to be like, we need people to know that Annabeth is awesome, because we don't have time to show that she is, which I would rather they just showed us. Yeah, just a show don't tell thing. Awesome I also think anytime I'm watching any sort of thing and people are talking about how amazing
they
one person is, and they bring it up
yeah.
multiple times, I'm like, I get it, okay? Yeah. Not that Annabeth isn't great.
She is awesome.
She is awesome, but
I think she's written so well already.
Yeah.
Like, it is very much of like, she is even more of a powerhouse than I felt she was in the books, and I love that about her. She's a no-nonsense lad. Lass. She's a no-nonsense lass. The shoes.
The shoes look really good.
I loved that they used, once again, the effects are absolutely beautiful, and such an artistic way of doing them, which I think is really, really cool. Like the shoes, the winged shoes that Luke gifts to Percy, the wings come from the laces.
Yes.
I thought that was a beautiful
it was
idea
really
and a gorgeous effect.
Yeah, I thought that was really pretty. I thought Grover flying with them was very funny. I'm very glad that happened, because I was afraid they weren't going to do it because they changed up so much.
Yeah.
But I'm glad we got to see Grover flying through the air with the shoes. That was really fun, and like hitting Medusa, I liked that a lot.
It's been the swap with Medusa's head as well was made a lot of sense, especially with how they were playing Gabe, because in the book, we hate Gabe. We just from the beginning, everything about Gabe is so bad. Whereas this interpretation of Gabe is Gabe sucks, but Gabe is not quite as much of a villain as he is. At least the writing of him is not quite as deep and nasty villainly that he is in the book. So it makes sense that this is like, we're going to kind of shift how we deal with that, because in the books, Medusa's head has another purpose.
Well, yeah. I mean, Medusa's, then they use it in this one. I just like the fact that they put the head on it, the hat on it, so they wouldn't be able to see it. I thought that was super clever. I really liked that, actually.
Yes.
I really enjoyed that.
You know, one thing I did miss?
What?
I feel like we didn't get we had some training montages, but we really didn't get anything in the first 2 episodes, and obviously not this one, of Percy training with Luke and like knowing that he's very good at the sword.
Yeah, we got a bit of it. We got a bit of him trying out.
We got him like fighting.
We got him,
but we didn't like. Nothing was like ever said about like Percy's actually just like real good at fighting.
Yes. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, well, I think that's going to be something that we'll be able to talk about more when we do like a season wrap up. But yes, you're right. But
I'm
also
just realizing that.
Also, yeah, I know that would have been something to mention in the last one.
Well, here I am.
Okay, great. I love you. And you're
Whatever.
Wonderful. Yeah, and Annabeth does bring that up. She's like, "Why are you afraid? You're good at this."
Yeah, and I'm like, "Why are you good at this? We haven't talked about it."
Well, the whole point. I thought her point that she was saying is like, you are good at this because you are the son of Poseidon.
Yeah. Like, which I get that, and we do talk about that in the book as well. Where he's like, "This is why this is your thing because you're the son of Poseidon."
Well, also,
so you just, do this.
in the books, because he's. I guess he wasn't in water when the fight was actually happening, but like when he's in or near water, he powers up. Yeah. And so even in the books, like he's better at fighting when he is in the water. Water. So, but the other thing, we're doing this episode like almost entirely backwards, but the Oracle, the opening for this episode, which I'm glad that they did, wasn't exactly what I expected, but I did think it was funny.
Yeah.
Gabe showing up
that
was
a very funny twist, and I wonder like the drive for that, what the drive for that was, of like making it something he is afraid of to like listen to, or what do we think that was? It was funny and entertaining, and I think it made the prophecy seem not as serious. She wasn't quite as I pictured the Oracle.
I thought the Oracle was literally a mummy.
Yeah, I thought it was like skull and bones.
Like, I thought it was like a literally wrapped up thing.
Which, up
I don't know where I got that from, but that was just what was in my mind.
I think they say she looks like a mummy.
Do they? Then maybe that's why. I'm glad. I'm glad the scene.
I like the way they did it.
Yes, I'm glad that scene existed. All of that bit kind of felt rushed, but stuff has to move at a pace.
Yeah.
Because, instead of having the scene where they explain what the thing is, Percy's like, I've been told I have to talk to you. Just like, okay, well.
He's cute. It was interesting, too, seeing Percy's interpretation of the prophecy come out as we went through the episode. Uh-huh. I think that was... Because we can't be in his head because we are watching him. We're not reading his thoughts. And so it was interesting to see later on in the episode, he kind of reveals why he chose Annabeth and Grover because of the prophecy, how he had interpreted the prophecy, which I think we both kind of had a different reaction to.
I thought it was a little bit. I thought it was interesting. I was like, it gives Percy more of a, introspective feel, more of an emotionally intelligent feel than I get from him in the books, because he's like plotting.
Well, I think that's kind of what I was trying to say about.
Part of it is saying one of my friends is gonna betray me, so I'm gonna bring these people and not trust them, which is something.
No, he said because Grover would never betray him.
Yes, I know.
And Annabeth he wouldn't trust.
Yes.
Because she would never like him.
Yes.
I don't think he was thinking he was picking someone to betray him.
Oh, that's how I got it.
I know you did, I don't think that was
maybe
it at all.
I was just
because he said at the end of the episode, he's like, I picked Annabeth because you're never going to be my friend, so you're obviously not going to betray me. And then Grover, you absolutely could not because I trust you and you're the best.
Yes.
But I got where you were taking it, because that was why I thought
beginning of the episode.
Yeah, because that's why I thought it was interesting that we got that reveal later on, because you could kind of look at it in a bit of a darker.
Yes, that's how. Like, because they had the camera linger on him for a while, and I was like, "Oh, damn. Okay, all right."
It's getting a little dark, but no, it wasn't.
And then, of course, last thing, I guess, the very last bit of the episode was the reveal of Hermes, as his delivery man self in the Percy Jackson universe as Lin-Manuel Miranda, which I enjoyed.
We get?
I knew he was in this. I just forgot who he was.
I as well.
So it's very funny. I'm like, oh great, I want to see more of the gods.
I really do. Obviously, we're adults watching this, so we're
Yeah.
like, woohoo,
Oh, cool.
we're the adults.
But yeah, I mean, again, I like this episode. I thought it was great. I don't know. I mean, I think if we're gonna do a rating, we'll probably just have to do it at the end of the season. Overall feelings. Because I don't know, I can't really make a decision yet based on what we've seen so far.
I've enjoyed it. 5 stars. Like,
yeah, it is still. I'm still very optimistic about the rest of the season.
And I think
so
especially
far it's
with
really
this
good.
episode, this is the first one that diverted from the text, but felt very true to the book.
Yes, it feels like they're interpreting things in ways that best serve the show while still being respectful to the book, which I think is
and to an intelligent audience.
Yes,
as well.
exactly, and I think that's as much as you can ask for in an adaptation, because a one-to-one adaptation is never going to work. So, I mean, in my opinion, whenever you're doing an adaptation,
different media. It's a different form of media.
You need someone who's either going to like do their best to make it as true as possible, or someone who has a very big vision, and that's very different.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in best case scenario is that it's both, and this seems to be mostly staying very true, and any changes it makes serve the show.
Yeah.
So far, I am very, very happy.
Me too. I'm looking forward to episodes every week.
Thank you all so much for watching. Please like and subscribe and do all that YouTube stuff to make sure you catch the rest of our videos about the Percy Jackson series. If you want to watch our videos about us reading the Percy Jackson books, you can check them out. There will be a link in the description below as well as somewhere on the screen. And
thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you on our next adventure.